The 2013 elections is shaping up to be a really exciting one. We will give you a rundown of the events and issues that you need to know. Join us as we count down to the 2013 midterm polls. I'm Mai Rodriguez and this is Elections 2013. With me is former COMELEC Commissioner Attorney Gregorio Larrazabal. It's a pleasure to have you with us again, sir.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Okay, in just a few months, we will be holding another round of automated elections. This despite issues still hounding the machines and the systems provider for next year's polls. They're the same company behind the 2010 automated polls, which was generally hailed as one of the most successful and fastest elections in the country. But some groups beg to disagree. These groups have banded together in opposing the involvement of this company, Smartmatic. Before we tackle this issue, let's take a look back at how our voting system evolved from manual to automated. It was 1916 when we first had the right to vote, but history has been a witness on how tumultuous elections in the country had been. 1965 saw the rise to power of Ferdinand Marcos.
Ferdinand E. Marcos ng Batak, Dalawigan ng Ilocos Norte, ay nihalal at itinanghal ng Pangulo ng Pilipinas.
Re-elected after 4 years, he declared martial law in 1972.
As of the 21st of this month, I signed Proclamation number 1081, placing the entire Philippines under martial law.
The snap elections in 1986 was perhaps the most chaotic, marred by massive vote buying, cheating, and snatching of ballot boxes. This was the time flying voters arose. After the 1986 EDSA revolution, congressional elections were held in May 1987. In 1992, presidential candidate Miriam Defensor Santiago questioned the victory of Fidel V. Ramos, claiming that massive cheating occurred in the canvassing of votes. The Hello Garci scandal raised questions on the legitimacy of President Gloria Arroyo's re-election in 2004. It was in May 2010 that the first automated elections was held in the Philippines. Despite some positive feedback, many issues arose regarding the accuracy of the PCOS machines, including faulty memory cards and the disabling of some security features. Despite the lingering questions about its effectivity, are we really ready for the automated elections for the upcoming midterm polls? We've certainly come a long way since 1916, but questions remain as we computerize the polls. Are PCOS machines really accurate? Can it guarantee a clean and honest election? Joining us tonight are COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez and Maricor Acol, a member of advocacy group Automated Election Systems Watch or ICE Watch. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, Director Jimenez.
Good evening, yes.
Wow.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So let's start our discussion. Back in 2010 or even before 2010, the 2010 elections, Ms. Maricor, you have your group and the other groups as well have opposed Smartmatic's involvement.
It was only later on. I think I should quote now Joseph Stalin, who said that it's enough that people know there was an election. The people casting the vote does not decide the elections, but the people who count the votes are the ones that decide elections, or something to that effect, okay? So I will not be charged with plagiarism. That was Stalin who said that, okay? But we are a democracy, and therefore, when the 9369, Republic Act 9369 was crafted by Congress, they placed several security features in the system to guarantee that what the people vote is the one that is, or what the people, when they cast their votes, is the one that is counted. Okay? And so therefore, we were opposed at that time to several features which were not present in the Smartmatic system. I mean, it was the first time, and probably for contingency efforts, or let's say for exigency's sake, okay, several features were disabled, but the machine has that. Okay.
So you're saying certain security features were lacking
Yes,
back
yes,
in 2010?
yes, yes.
All right, let's go back to 2010, Director Jimenez. I'm sure you remember this very well. Back in 2010, there was a major scare just days before the election, days before election day itself, right? There was a scare of, there was a fear of a failure of elections or a delayed nationwide elections because 76,000 CF cards had to be reconfigured before distributing them to the various polling precincts nationwide.
Yeah. Well, actually, they were already distributed. They were already in the precincts. And
then they had to be recalled.
Yes, and so we had to recall more than 70,000 CF cards. The CF cards, you see, contain the configuration of the ballot. Basically, the CF card is what tells the machine what you're going to see. And during the preparation of the CF cards, several steps were missed out. When we changed the format of the ballot, that change was not reflected in the electronic configuration. So as a result, a few days before election day, we discovered that and we pulled it out. So it was corrected.
So what was the major cause of that glitch?
Well, the major cause of that glitch really was, well, I hesitate to say this because I don't want to say that anyone's incompetent, but you know, basically what happened was changes in one part of the project were not reflected in another part of the project when they should have been. So in an ideal system, if you change the ballot, then the electronic format of that ballot should be changed as well.
I think I should also mention that at that point in time, it was the configuration of the rear, the dorsal side of the ballot, not the front side of the ballot. The front side of the ballot was adequately tested in the advanced overseas absentee voting in Singapore and Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And I would also like to emphasize that before everyone votes on election day, all the machines are tested and sealed. So the accuracy of each and every machine before people cast their vote, before the ballots are fed into the machine, are tested and manually checked. And once verified, the machines are sealed and ready for use on election day.
So how come, can I ask, that's the excuse that was given by COMELEC to the people. But how come in the Smartmatic case versus Dominion, they claim that it was because of a software glitch, it was a source, there's something wrong in the system, it was not fully functional. Remember, in the case, I mean, I'm not going to talk about the case because as Brillante said, we're not lawyers. But I would just like to say that what we've been telling all along has been validated by the case because there were some statements, and it's not coming from us, it's coming from Smartmatic itself, blaming Dominion for giving them a system that was not fully functional.
Okay. I think with regards to the case between Smartmatic and Dominion, it would be difficult to comment because I don't know all the facts. However, I do know the facts of 2010, the reason for some of the problems, the solutions COMELEC did to resolve the problems, and this was validated. And the best way to validate the results of elections are the results of the various protest cases filed at the HRET, the Commission on Elections, the different courts, in which it was verified that the system was 100% accurate.
Director Jimenez, I'd like to cite this quote by NBN ZTE whistleblower June Lozada. He said back in 2010 that from the start, the automation project was bound to fail because COMELEC did not hire competent IT people to check on Smartmatic TIM's programs.
Nothing against Mr. Lozada, but number one, he was like maybe not very close to the project, so I don't know where he's getting that. Second, the fact that we were doing this under the guidance of the Advisory Council only shows that there were enough IT experts backing it up. You know, I mean, I appreciate whistleblowing and everything, but you know, let's stay relevant, right? I mean, we're not talking about
one of the groups,
NBN.
Director, that are opposing Smartmatic's involvement for next year's elections. It's also composed of IT experts,
Yes.
right?
Yes. And there are a lot of IT experts nowadays. I mean, I don't know if you noticed.
Can I just put in something to that effect? Why June Losada? Because it's very similar to the NBN ZTE deal. If you take a look at the Smartmatic and the Dominion, they set up a company in Barbados. Okay, that was the one that was licensed for Comelec, and curiously enough, the administration put up a consulate in Barbados. Okay, so you connect the dots. So we're saying that probably Comelec could not really have a free hand in having all their decisions.
You were shaking your head earlier, Director.
Well,
Can you answer that?
I mean, look at that. Something happened, something else happened, and yes, please, let's connect the dots. Let's take two separate events and make a wonderful conclusion out of it. I mean, does
Maricor,
that make
so
sense?
how are you backing
Come
these claims? I mean, you should, like what Director Jimenez said.
I mean, you know, there are still, if you consider, in Comelec, there are still some honest employees, not operators.
Many,
okay?
many.
Okay, many.
Honest.
And so we get our what do you call this? Leaks from them.
You know what, I would like to emphasize that the 2010 elections was a successful elections, but it was not the best elections. It's good that there are civic organizations that continue to try to help Comelec to point out things that can be improved, but we have to differentiate what are matters that have been resolved, what are matters that need to be resolved, and what are matters that are important to make sure that we have a good, honest, credible 2013 elections. I think we all are in agreement that we have to have a good election to 2013 because this is in preparations for the important 2016 presidential elections.
We agree, yeah.
Last night, earlier, I had the occasion to speak to a group of people, and we were talking about all of these things, preparing for 2016. And one of the things I said was, I was reminded of it by what Commissioner Razabal said, is that the issues have been identified. I mean, we have groups like Ace Watch who are doing an excellent job of surfacing these issues. But what we need really is not so much to keep on repeating these issues, but as to agree, number one, that all of these issues, previously entrenched positions, should be open to discussion.
Yeah.
And second, open to a final disposition. Okay? It's important that not just floating the issues, you have to be ready to let them go. Once they've been replied to, once they've been answered, to let them go. The problem is, a lot of these issues, we keep going back over and over, even though they've been resolved several times, even though the Supreme Court has backed us up several times, we still keep on going over the same thing. We're spinning our wheels, and we're not moving
I think
forward.
many people will agree, Director. So we should move forward.
Yes.
Yes.
Look ahead.
Yes.
All right, we'll have to pause for our break. When we come back, Director Jimenez will tell us what the Comelec is doing to make sure that security issues and questions on accuracy of the PCOS machines will be addressed. This is Elections 2013. Stay tuned. You're still tuned in to Elections 2013 here on the Solar News Channel. With the rising tensions between Smartmatic International and Dominion voting systems on property rights, many of our voters are questioning the credibility of the upcoming midterm polls. Still joining us are James Jimenez and Maricor Acol. Director Jimenez, let's go back to the issue raised by Maricor earlier about the UV ink security feature. Is this being addressed?
Well, it is. Back in 2010, really we were ready to deploy that. But as Maricor intimated, there were some problems with the printing process. And so it was decided that, instead of false positives, we'd better just turn it off. But we didn't leave the system undefended. We didn't leave the ballot undefended. In fact, the ballots could not be read again if they had already been read once. And so that was a sufficient safeguard under the law to protect the authenticity of the ballots. However, for now, for 2013, we are in the process of making sure that we can use the UV marks. Not that I'm lawyering for anyone, but the PCOS machines do have a ultraviolet light scanner, and that has never, we never said that those things stopped working. We just turned them off. So it's really a simple matter of just turning them back on, and we intend to.
So what is the Comelec's assurance this time around, Director, that the accuracy of the PCOS machines will not be questioned?
Oh, well, Well, there is no guarantee that will stop people from questioning the accuracy of the machine. People will question that. They will try to break the system. But we believe that we have a lot of tests lined up, mock elections and such, that will show that the PCOS machines are reliable, they are accurate, and hopefully that will all come together to build a credible result. For
Are there
2024.
added security features for the PCOS machines?
There are enhancements that we're doing. Can't tell you every single one of them, but there are enhancements both at the front end and the back end. You know, front end to make the experience more, shall we say, make the experience easier for the voter, and in the back end to make the processing of the data more secure and more efficient. So those things are in the works.
Let's talk about the licensing issue. In May of this year, Dominion Voting Systems, which supplies Smartmatic, the automated system technologies, canceled their 2009 license agreement, and Smartmatic is now suing Dominion for breach of contract. How is this going to affect the elections in the Philippines?
Remember, the technology provided by Dominion comprises only a small part of the entire system. It's just that, you know, it does occupy a more or less prominent position in that whole setup. But basically, what happened in Dominion versus Smartmatic is that Dominion has certain technologies which it licensed out to Smartmatic.
Okay.
Smartmatic, as part of that licensing agreement, gets its own rights, plus the reassurance that Dominion is supposed to put certain source codes in escrow, so that in case Dominion ever breaches its contract, Smartmatic can have recourse to those source codes. That is what Smartmatic claims Dominion has failed to do. Those are the source codes that were not supposed to be placed in escrow, not our source codes. So it's a problem between the two of them. It doesn't affect the rest of us. Remember, we're not even Smartmatic's only business. It's a worldwide endeavor for them. So it's a very limited scope
But
problem.
why is Ace Watch and the other groups raising this particular licensing problem?
Okay, we are affected if, okay, because remember that the license of Smartmatic was until 2014, that was 5 years. If Smartmatic says they can upgrade, in the licensing agreement, they cannot touch that technology. Therefore, if Dominion, and I know that probably there are inroads being done by COMELEC to talk to Dominion to allow us outside of the case, that they can go on with the case, but they will allow us, okay? But the reason we are bringing this up now is because should that happen, what will happen to our elections? Therefore, we are only asking COMELEC to be transparent and to inform the public what the moves are so that we are sure of an elections in May 2013.
This is actually very Vonnegut. I mean, we're afraid that some major international foreign company is going to come in at the last minute and tell a sovereign country, you can't hold the elections because you have our software.
But that's a possibility, James.
But I think at this point in time,
But are you addressing
But
it is a
no.
possibility?
No, the point is,
It's not
the
gonna
point is
happen.
this. First, the software that we're going to be using in 2013 is already with us. It's already been modified. It's already being scrutinized by an independent third party, and it will be certified, and it will be used for 2013.
I think you also have a problem with regards to getting a system because, as Marco Acol said, there was a limit as to the budget provided
the
by
budget.
COMELEC. So even if COMELEC wanted to get another system or different systems, there was a prohibition because there was only a specific fund given to COMELEC to procure the system.
That's true.
And that's a limitation. Even if you want to get different systems or from different vendors, you are basically COMELEC's hands, as I see it, was tied because of
Budgetary constraints.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, to be very
Is that
fair,
correct?
To
Is
be
that
very
correct?
fair, the 1-point-something billion that we wanted to spend for buying the
purchase,
PCOS
yeah.
machines, that was the most efficient use of money. But ultimately, you can always make the argument that democracy will cost what democracy will cost. So that cost, it really is not an issue.
It's not an issue.
Yeah, and I think we all agree on
Yes.
that. So kung maganda yung system, if it's really a good system, then why not get it? The 1.2 billion was an efficiency issue. With the money was
Yes.
there, the system was tested, and so it makes more sense. Plus, more efficient use of money all around.
How can the COMELEC assure that we will be having a credible and accurate elections in 2013?
I think it's key what Ms. Akol said. Transparency really is the issue. Transparency should be had all around, especially by the COMELEC. COMELEC should not adopt the attitude that we're the implementers, therefore you do whatever we tell you to do. And that's why we're engaging as much as we can.
All right. We would like to thank our guests, COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez and Maricor Acol, president of the Philippine Information Technology Standards Foundation and member of ACE Watch. This is Elections 2013. We'll be right back. As part of the Solar News Channel's Election Information Drive, we are presenting a series on political dynasties in the Philippines. Obviously, a controversial issue. For one, they are seen as greedy political families clinging on to power. On the other hand, it could be their way of continuing a legacy of leadership. Let's watch a special report on the Angaras of Aurora by Camille Elemia.
Aurora is a province located on the eastern central side of Luzon. The primary industries are agriculture and fishing. The province is blessed with rich metallic and non-metallic mineral deposits. Edgardo Angara is the longest-serving Philippine senator after the EDSA Revolution. He has served 4 terms, from 1987 to 1992, 1992 to 1998, and 2001. His last term ends in 2013. The national elections next year will see a consolidation of power by the Angaras. As Senator Angara nears the end of his last term, his son Juan Edgardo, who represents the Lone District of Aurora, eyes to replace him in the Senate. Senator Angara also announced that he will run for governor of Aurora Province in 2013, with his nephew Romel Angara as vice governor. Governor Bellaflor Angara Castillo, the senator's sister, will also end her term. She will run again for Congress, a position she's already held before. Another sibling, Baler Mayor Arthur Angara, ends his term in 2013. Like other politicians, there are also controversies and issues that have hounded the Angara family. Top-notch architect Felino Palafox Jr. filed complaints for graft and violation of the Code of Ethics before the Ombudsman against Senator Angara, Congressman Angara, and Governor Angara. The issue stemmed from the creation of the Aurora Pacific Economic Zone and Freeport Authority, which the Angaras pushed until former President Arroyo signed it into law in June 2007. The anti-graft law also prohibits any member of Congress from receiving financial interest or benefit from any project that resulted from a law that he or she authored. Congressman Angara and Governor Angara sit as members of the Board of Directors of APECO. APECO allegedly used the administration's conditional cash transfer program to elicit support from indigenous peoples. APECO has apparently authorized itself to conduct screening of beneficiaries, a right and responsibility of the local government. But Senator Edgardo Angara belies these allegations, saying he did not benefit from the planning of APECO.
Kalokohan yun eh. Kalokohan niya. Kami, kung binibigay ko sa kapatid ko ang aking pork barrel, mali yun. Di ba? Gagastusin niya para sa kanya, mali yun. Pero hindi eh, binibigay ko sa probinsya na it just happens na ang gobernador ay kapatid ko.
The Angaras' alleged closeness with the powers that be is not limited to the Arroyo administration. Critics say they were able to bag 2 more projects under the Aquino government: the 1.66 billion peso Baler Casiguran Road improvement and the 798 million peso Umiray Bridge projects. These are projects initiated by the Angaras during the time of Arroyo but only got implemented at a time when Senator Angara voted for the conviction of Chief Justice Renato Corona, while Congressman Sonny Angara acted as spokesperson for the prosecution. Despite these controversies, the Angaras' hold among the people of Aurora and most of the Philippines remains solid. In the 2007 senatorial elections, over 12 million Filipinos voted for Senator Angara in the Senate. Camille Elemia for Elections 2013, Solar News.
That was just a sample of what's in store for you as part of our Election Watch in 2013. Tune in again next week for part 3 of that special series. So let's go back to our topic on the 2013 automated elections. So Goya, what can you say on the credibility issues of COMELEC and Smartmatic? For the sake of transparency, you were the chairman of the steering committee on automation in 2010, the guy in charge of everything.
Yes, and what we did in 2010 was reached out to the different stakeholders, and because of that, from September 2009 to December, the COMELEC had a 30% jump in approval rating in the survey. And the 2010, even if it was a successful elections, it was just the first of many steps that the COMELEC has to take to continually improve election management in the Philippines. If COMELEC just goes on the track we took in 2010, we see many really efficiently run elections in the coming future.
Thank you, Goyo. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for helping us out again tonight.
My pleasure. It's nice being here.
That's a wrap. Tune in again next week as we tackle more issues that matter to you. I'm Mai Rodriguez, and this is Elections 2013.